actually showing anything yet. So I will edit this copy and remove this chit chat. But we'll go around the table, and then I'll open up with a big question about, is it still called PLM or has it got another name? I know Christine's got thoughts on newer taxonomies. I know Martin's thought a lot about that, and Patrick is always on this debate too. I mean, all of us have the thing. And I think another interesting aspect is the fact that Brion 2 and Brion 1 are both sort of the retail space, which is a different definition of PLM anyway, right? It's another space. Okay, I think we're all in. And LinkedIn's live. Awesome. So welcome to the Future of PLM webcast. I am getting an echo, even though my tab is muted. Anybody else hearing an echo?
No.
Okay. Welcome to the Future of PLM podcast. My name is Michael Finicaro, and I've got a humongous, awesome panel today of professionals and thought leaders in the industry. We're pretty numerous, but we'll try to go around the horn anyway. As far as I can see, I've got Martin Eigner on the top, so I'll let Martin introduce himself, and then Julian, Brion Carrolls 1 and 2, Oleg, Christine, Rob, and Jim. How's that?
Okay, thank you. And I will start. So I made it short because I guess I'm the eldest. my DNA is PLM. I founded the first PLM company worldwide, 85, and I did PLM my whole life in companies and university and in my own company. That's my life. Yeah.
Great. Good morning, afternoon, everyone. I'm Julianne Grant. I'm the head of global marketing at Razorleaf. I've been at Razorleaf about 10 years. Been in the manufacturing software industry for a majority of my career, which is more years than I want to admit. And I'm glad to be here today. It's going to be a great conversation. Thanks for inviting me.
You're welcome. Mr. Carroll 1.
Yeah, so my name is Brion Carrolls. I've been in PDM and PLM since, like Martin, the mid 80s. And so my DNA, as Martin said, is PLM all over, even to the point where Brion Carrolls 2 came out and became PLM. So that's validation of DNA migration.
Patrick, or Brion 2, sorry. So we haven't even seen him yet. He hasn't popped up on these screens. Apparently they're limited to 9.
No, that's fine. That's fine. So
Hey,
Brion Carrolls 2, that's the first time I've used that introduction. But yes,
we thought you were two different people. Like you couldn't actually be in the same universe because we've never seen you in the same room. So this is the first time I think for any of us to see you both existing in the same time-space continuum. So that's pretty amazing.
It actually is the first time. We started a company together in the 90s, and then part of the sale in 2005. But this is the first time that we've kind of been in a large group together, my father and I. So it's
that's awesome.
Pulling it together, Michael. I appreciate that. So Brion Carrolls, I am the senior digital executive for Rockwell Automation. So all of the digital that Rockwell does internally and all the digital that Rockwell does with our customers, and that is PLM for Rockwell. So everything that is to the left, I'll say, of manufacturing, that's my responsibility. But in the industry for about 30 years, worked in many different industries. So it's great to be here. Thanks for having me.
And you also make some of the funniest videos in the PLM industry. But
very great.
With no support from AI.
None whatsoever. Really yeah, it's weird.
None at all.
Patrick, why don't we go with the academic view over there? How's Ms. Dr. Hillberg?
Yes. Hi, Pat Hillberg. I started my career in vision-guided robotics back in the 80s, switched into PLM in the early 2000s. Worked for both Dassault and then Siemens. I retired into teaching in 2019. I now teach a course called Product Lifecycle Management, but really underneath the covers, it's about managing product life cycles, which I'll get into later, is a much larger scope than PLM technology.
Awesome. Let's see, Christine.
Well, while I was getting my engineering degree at Maryland, I got an internship that ended up being a startup SolidWorks company, and got on that bandwagon pretty quickly and came up through the SolidWorks channel. And I've been in the industry for 25 years. I have become an analyst. I've been following the market for 25 years. I'm all about how people sell software these days. But with 25 years, that makes me a junior analyst. So it's kind of fun.
Jim, speaking of junior analysts.
Thank you. Yeah, no, I had to dye this beard gray every once in a while just to keep up with you guys. My background actually was engineering, University of Maryland, go Terps, Christine.
Go Gators.
But then I actually went out into enterprise systems and did ERP and supply chain for a good amount of time. And so naturally I ended up back in PLM because enterprise systems meets engineering, and it just made sense. Run Tech Clarity, we're an independent research firm making the business value of technologies like PLM clear.
Thank you very much. Appreciate you being here, Jim. We also have Rob and Oleg.
Yeah, hi.
Be introduced,
So Rob Ferroni, I'm a baby in the group. I've only been doing this for 25 years, and
Yes.
I ran a successful large consultancy company that also provided services, and I call it product data management across the life cycle, but shorten it to PLM just to keep things easy.
Nice. I think Oleg is the next one, and then yes, I think.
Thank you. My name is Oleg. Thank you for inviting me, Michael. I've been in the PLM business working for several companies, Autodesk, Dassault. Started my blog about PLM, finding a way beyond PLM, already for 15 years, and currently at OpenBOM. I tried to calculate, do we have a 300 years of PLM experience in this chat? I think
That's very possible.
I think it's the highest concentration of PLM that I remember on this webinars.
It might not be a good thing. I don't know.
We'll add it up later.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. Jos Voskel, I'm from the Netherlands, as you see from my last name, and my company's name, Tacit, is actually the company I started in 1999 with a focus on knowledge management. But I was dragged into the world of PLM again by a smart team. And there I became responsible for methodology and training. And then we started this blog. And the beauty of blogging at the same time with Oleg is that it forces you to think about PLM from all different angles. And my angle was very much also the human angle of PLM, the organization, the change, and less the technology. And thanks to my coaching role, I'm now working with a lot of companies, but also sometimes with vendors and implementers. And I'm continuing to learn what is happening in the field and share it.
And then we've got another Martin Melcher that joined the call as well. Not sure how he got this.
Switch on my phone. Martin, the other Martin invited me. Yeah, my name is Martin Melcher and Michael. We've got a common history at HP. A lot of years ago, I started in the early 90s with the topic EDM, PDM, and now still with PLM, working for a German software vendor in the SAP environment, bringing real PLM to SAP. Yeah, that's about me.
Okay, well, we have a bit of diversity then. We've got a couple of countries represented. We wanted to talk today about redefining PLM. Like the words product lifecycle management, are they still relevant to what we do? Because there's people on this call that are analysts, some are more consultants, some are more practitioners. We have a software vendor, right? Because Oleg kind of splits the thing between the two. I don't know who wants to start. Rob, you're pretty good at this ice-breaking thing. Do you want to jump in real quick, Rob? With a thumbs up or thumbs down, like you like to do?
No, I mean, this is tricky. I mean, let me tell you my story. For probably of those 25 years, for at least 15 years, in fact, for the first 5 years, I didn't even know we were doing product data management. And then for the next 10 years, I don't think I'd even heard of PLM, even though we'd grown the company to over 100 people by then doing product data management across the life cycle. So I was wrestling with this the last few days, because I think that you've got, you know, engineers, manufacturing, purchasing, service, and all the people along the life cycle who are working with product data. And if you ask them about it, I don't know if they would use the term PLM. I think PLM for me seems to be something that we, you know, from the outside talk about. And it'd be great to find a word or words, sorry, that unify, you know, not just ourselves on the industry side, but then also internally on the customer side as well. Because I think PLM is too closely aligned to a system.
Brian is raised. Oh God, it doesn't say which Brian. So one of the Brian's
No,
raised
that's
his
me.
hand.
Yeah, sorry, that's me. So Rob, you bring up a good point, because product lifecycle management really is ideation to commercialization and then back, right? And yet most vendors have PLM as the pre-steps to ERP. And yet product lifecycle is all the way through to commercialization, market acceptance or not, market adjustment, back to engineering, flowing back through. And so if we take PLM and put it to what it means, then the service of PLM products has definitely not met that challenge, right? But if you take what is evolving, which is the intimation, or what I call intelligent integration, intimation of systems, and then put AI above that, which we know, you know, Agentic AI is going to be something that's crafting, then you can kind of see where PLM could stretch and become something that is more an intimation of all of these systems, whether it's engineering, ERP, purchasing, e-com, loop back, adjust, go back through, right? So PLM, I think if we keep that term, we should make it be what it actually is, or is not what it's been serviced as vendors products, but what it is, and then begin to chant or champion the stretching of PLM to be ideation and commercialization in the back.
Interesting. What do you think, Jim?
All right, so I'm going to be the dissenting opinion, perhaps, and I think Rob was onto something when he said that, you know, he mentioned customers, right? I think the people that use PLM don't care what we call it. It's just a name. The time that I see, you know, is PLM a strategy? Is it a process? Is it a system? Tend to be in groups like this where it's consultants and academics and you know, and analysts. And so my opinion is, it doesn't matter what we call it. It's about what are the business problems that need to be solved. Yes, it's more important about the strategy first and about the business processes. And then I think we all recognize here that what the vendors are calling PLM systems today isn't enough to fulfill that. So I think I'm not sure what's important about the conversation other than the fact that we all just acknowledge that let's start with business first and the PLM strategy, and then recognize that PLM systems are only a small part of how to fulfill that.
Well, I think, though, that the problem is that there's a bit of an identity crisis, Jim. I think that PLM doesn't really get its rightful due when it comes to looking at the C-level. So the C-level, you know, when you think about ERP, people know exactly what that is, and they appropriate the right money and the right resources for that. But when it comes to PLM and the data and all the data that it touches, I think that it becomes more complicated because it touches so many places, from, you know, incoming marketing to, you know, from the sales side to the design side. So and then it goes all the way through service. So I just think it's a little harder to put their finger on, well, how should I plan and appropriate resources and budget for this? Because it's a lot, you know, PLM is, you know, it just typically gets put in the bucket of an engineering system, and it's actually a lot more.
I couldn't agree more, Julian.
ERP as a name is terrible. People have tried to change it before, and it doesn't change anything. It's just not the name. Anyway,
on what Julian
super respect your comment.
Christine's turn, I think. Go ahead, Christine.
And that I want to follow up with what you had to say, Julian. And I think it's really important. As long as PLM is considered a PLM tool from a vendor, it will never get the corporate attention that it needs to get funding for that information to break out of your engineering system. You need PLM to go through your services group. You need it to manage ideation. You need it to listen to what the customers want. You in order to have an actual cross-functional, multi-domain PLM system, you need budget for that. That is above and beyond what somebody wants to spend on Team Center.
And it seems to me that one of the issues, though, is that we're not on the balance sheet of the corporation, right? ERP is, because it's inventory. We're just cost. We're just engineering cost, which makes it challenging. Which is one of the reasons we want to have the debate. What about in academia? How do you look at it, Patrick, when you're talking to your students and you're preparing for the real world?
I started teaching a PLM technology class. It's all Team Center, but actually in the midst of teaching about the second or third year, there was the GM ignition switch problem, and I teach in Detroit, so it was big news here. Big news everywhere, but it's really big news here. A few years later, I was in the midst of teaching the ignition switch, and the two 737 Maxes went down. So I became much more interested in the fullest extent of the product lifecycle. Both GM and Boeing use PLM technology, but still they couldn't solve these multi-billion-dollar, hundreds of lives lost problem. So we need to look the fullest extent of the product lifecycle really is the extent of all of the as models, and not just as designed and as required, but also as built and as serviced and as operated and as disposed. So one thing I teach in my classes is an article titled "PLM is Dead, Long Live the Thread." So if we're looking at a technology that's going to extend across the entirety of the product lifecycle, thank you, Jim. If we're looking at the entirety of a technology that's going to extend across the product lifecycle, we need to look at the digital thread. And in order to do that, we can't be siloed into PLM, into ERP, into MRO, into MES, and these sorts of things. We need to integrate that across the lifecycle. And realistically, we need to change business models in order to accomplish that. So, and I'll just briefly kind of wrap up with this. The first 737 MAX crashed due to a design problem and one service problem and another service problem and a pilot training problem and another pilot training problem. So there's some digital thread that could pull all that together and save those planes from crashing. That thread would probably cost $1 billion, but Boeing spent $20 billion in adjusting to the crashes that happened. So, but we don't have business models that can bring all of that stuff together. There's thousands of suppliers upstream of Boeing, and there's hundreds of users downstream of Boeing. How do we bring all those people together? But I think there's a real business need in doing so, in which we save planes from crashing and we allow airbags to work when airbags are supposed to work. So in any event, I take a much larger view of the product lifecycle than just the PLM technology.
Well, you know what the question I have is, so I remember when, I kind of grew up in upstate New York, where you used to call someone on a phone and tell them who you want to connect with. Yeah. You'd be like, "Hey, Susan, can you connect me with the gas station up the thing?" And they even had a rotary phone. That is not this phone, right? But we still call it a phone but it's so much more part of who I am, right? It's my wallet, it's my identity, right? It's my kids, it's my wife. So I think as we begin to say, what is PLM? For me, and in Rockwell is a manufacturing company. Me coming in here was like, what the hell do you do? And I was just trying to tell them what we do. And it's still a learning process. For them, PLM is engineering and BOM development, right? It's CAD, it's the actual design, and it's the model for them. It's starting to create some process planning and variance, but it is not manufacturing. It is not anything to do with manufacturing. So I think, and then looking at retail, it is only tech pack development, right? PLM is tech pack development, assortment planning to a degree, but PLM is not a merchandise tool. So I think when we talk about where are we, to Jim's point, when we come into an organization and we say PLM, where is the business case? Who are the people that we're affecting? Right, the engineers and the quality people. We're not affecting always the regulatory people in med tech, and there's a whole bunch of different things. But I think we use PLM as a focus area to say this is where we're focusing. It is not a digital thread to me. I usually say EPLM if I want to say digital thread and pushing all those things downstream. But I don't think PLM is the entirety of the context, because it's not the entire life cycle of the product. It isn't. That's some ideological conversation that's above anyone's ability to learn, and you'd have to be really old men and women like we are, or to know all of that stuff. Because if someone coming into the industry, they need it. Where's my focus? And I talk to a lot of people. Where's my focus, Brian? And your focus is CAD right now in BOM. That's where your focus needs to be. So
I want to hear what Martin has to say.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to Martin's opinion.
Yeah, I think I provoke a little bit. So sorry. I think when I founded my company, I asked SAP, because it's only 50 kilometers far away from my home. Would you like, or do you intend to build something for administration or for engineering? They said no, and that I have founded my company. If SAP would have said yes, I never would have founded my company. And once again, when we talk about product lifecycle management in the real term, not looking into a system, but what is product lifecycle management meaning? It's management, the product data, the process data along the product lifecycle. And I think an MRP system is covering much more than what we call the PLM or PDM system. So for me, I think I didn't care with the names or whatever. What is PDM? What will be PDM? Think about a customer, a single CAD customers with Onshape and MRP. This customer don't need PDM or PLM, because Onshape takes over some functionality, SAP takes over the other type of functionalities. So there's no room in the middle. On the other side, we have customers, they're doing everything in PLM, even the assembly, planning, the digital factory, customers from Dassault and from Teamcenter especially. Most of my customers, I would like to say 80% of my customers are using PDM, whether as a PDM system, so they are doing DBOM, EBOM, and transfer to MRP. And more there's a trend in Germany, Switzerland, and Austria, because SAP is in a strong position. More and more customers are using SAP for PLM functionality. That's especially in the medium-sized companies. So I think we should not care what is the real expression of the systems. I think that's very different. I would like to discuss about the philosophy. And when we discuss about end-to-end process, my problem is I made change management 5 years worldwide in Bosch. It was a crazy job, because we ever failed. Because we did a little bit in the engineering, a little bit in manufacturing, a little bit in logistics. My really dream is to build up a data model, a semantical data model, and I call it digital thread, above all the legacy systems. And I would like to position all the end-to-end processes like release management, change management, configuration management, quality management on top of this process. And right now, we are doing a survey about all companies working on digital thread, extended digital thread. I think that's about 15 companies worldwide, and I think that's an interesting fact. And that is really product lifecycle management for me right now.
Brian, you had your hand up, but I just want to give Oleg a chance also to chime in, because Oleg hasn't been able to.
Yeah, Oleg, you can go. I've already talked.
Thank you.
Well, I'll follow.
No problem. I think
I wanted to say something based on my statement. I guarantee That's why we don't own a company yet.
Okay. Everyone is so passionate about PLM. It's hard, you need to be very careful to say something like not for PLM. But I will try to bring it. I've been thinking, how digital transformation happened with other industries and how many new companies were created. So if you think about this, all of them were created around nouns and vowels. So basically, a company that created something in music and something in food and something in transportation, like all these industries, all these different things that are happening around. So people were going and starting a company and saying, do I need to do something in transportation? Oh no, Uber already got it. So and so on and so on and so on. So now I'm coming back to the business. I think 25 years, I've heard a joke that said it's very simple how you make a business software. You just take a name of the department with the budget, add to the name of the department word management, and you get a software because they have budget and they buy in the software that does every department name management problem solved. Because you cannot sell anything that doesn't have a budget. So they just forget about this if you're doing business software. So that's kind of, but now I'm coming back now. And Michael brought the point about agentic and language. I think the next transformation, and this is where I see a long support, like we are doing something with either like nouns or vowels, like we go in the parts assemblies, we go in with the process of release, we go into the process of reviews, like we can bring in our domain, we can bring, I don't know, 30, 40, maybe 50 different things that people are working on. Essentially, a person who works on something wants to solve a problem related to this thing. For the lack of better name, this is the thing. If someone works on the part design, that's what he will be working on parts. Someone will be working on something else, he will try to solve the problem. I think Jim is spot on, people don't care. Like if I have a problem with the part design, I will try to solve a problem with part design. And now here is the brilliant thing that I think is happening now with the agentic, is that the agent will solve the problem. So now we'll have an agent that solves the problem of part design. We have an agent that solves the problem of the design review, like every task, okay? I have a BOM costing. Here's an agent that will solve the problem of the BOM costing. I have a BOM checker. I think it's a real person role, like I've seen it in some companies. So I have an agent for BOM checking. So that's my perspective. I think the names and the three-letter acronyms essentially dead. That's why we cannot invent a better one, because we already invented one and some people like it and hate it. And I can tell you like one story, like when someone, like back in the blogging time when we started, Jos and myself, I was thinking about the name. I said, okay, there are two groups of people. Those that like PLM and those that hate PLM. And both of them will be Googling for PLM. So we are okay. Sorry, it took a little bit longer.
Brian and then Jos. Yeah.
Yeah, so you guys speaking on this really kind of opens my eyes to, you can either expand what PLM does, or you can shrink to what PLM does. I mean, what PLM needs to be versus what PLM does. PLM, product lifecycle management, by its definition, is ideation and commercialization and back. That's it. Which means it harmonizes all of the functional operations Oleg was talking about, boom, 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 and it loops back to create a corrective model so that, as per the airplane guy, I can't remember his name.
Peter,
I don't remember
Dr. Hillberg.
Right. Yep. If that was able to be product lifecycle management, then that loop back would have repaired and then gone forward and not been the service issue. The service issue would have became a design change issue, which then would have resolved the service issue in the first place. That's what product lifecycle management should be. But because we're all siloed in our own functional world, as Oleg said, I only care about parts, I only care about BOM checking, I only care about whatever. It's almost impossible to say you all belong to product lifecycle management, because then they go, I don't know what the hell you're talking about. So either we say product lifecycle management is engineering only lifecycle management, or we take on the huge, unbelievable task of saying product lifecycle management, as Oleg brought up with Agentic agents floating around. I see these little orbs floating around going, it's really kind of scary and strange at the same time. Or we take on that full product life cycle management and bring everything up to that. I don't think we can do that because I think people's brains would explode and nobody would know what the hell you're talking about. So we probably have to say, we're going to do engineering lifecycle management. Shut up. ERP is going to do that stuff. Shut up. Service lifecycle management is going to do that stuff. Shut up. And nobody will do anything except the systems and the roles. But what we have to have is the conduit to connect these different things together. And that becomes product lifecycle management in the end.
Interesting.
Okay.
Wait, I think Yas was
If
first.
I can.
Yas was first, and then Christine.
Oh.
Yeah, I was trying to react on Martin's story, but that time. Yeah, I think the reason that we are sitting here with PLM is that's our general term, but we're all specialists in a different way. And when I worked with a software vendor, the purpose of mentioning PLM was selling software. They were not selling concepts because that's where they didn't make money. Consultants see PLM as another way of business. And recently, I'm working a lot with companies, and I don't mention the P word anymore. I also wrote it in my blog about, because I think we all agree we have to solve business issues, and those business issues, because of digitalization, can become now end-to-end business issues. It's no longer we solve one thing in one silo. We want to have this horizontal flow of information. Still, the organization structure is blocking this horizontal flow. It cannot be done by just adding data in databases and systems, and then the information is there. The reasoning is not there. And that's one of the discussions we also currently have in the world of AI. So PLM is a nice name for us here as a group. Everyone knows where somehow I would say our specialism lies, but reality is much broader and has so much dimensions per industry. I enjoy it.
Christine?
Yes, here.
Yeah, so I agree with what Brian said, but who owns the product within a product development organization? If engineering is responsible for owning that product, I'm an engineer, I know engineers, we will make the strangest stuff that nobody will buy. And we'll make it for a lot of money, it will have very high quality, but nobody will want it. So within a product-oriented company, engineering should not be defining the product that goes to market. But then also, if PLM is, and everything defining the product is confined within the engineering organization, even if we're talking about the models, the CAD models, we will never get to the point where you can have a model-based enterprise when you have that 3D held within the PLM, small PLM inside of the engineering organization. In order for everybody to have access to those models, you do need to raise it up to go across the silos.
Yeah, and that's a scary thought, As you think of it, if we were to talk about PLM as it means in term, then we're wrong saying it's the engineering system, right? And to Brian's point, Brian too, you've got merchandising, which is saying what's out there needed in the market. That should feed engineering. Engineering should loop back to what's needed in the market. At some point, it should be pushed in the ERP. And I think the reason most people spend a lot of money on ERP, it's almost like an athlete that becomes fully capable of doing a given thing, like running a race. And all the work they do to become fit to run the race is ignored because it's only focused on the race they run. And so ERP tends to be the race they run, meaning we've got product, let's get it out the door, damn it, let's get money. And so that's where the business goes ding, 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 ding. And they start pumping money into this thing that generates revenue. And they forget about the only reason they can do that is because engineering did what it did. And so you can't really, put 80% of your op cost or capex into ERP and forget about PLM or engineering, because then you won't have any products next year because they won't have systems to do their job. But it's again, an athlete being honed and capable is the engineering side. The ERP is the running the race, and everyone seems to worry about running the race. I'll stop talking. I can go on forever.
I think
Michael, can I
Patrick was
put a question to Martin? Because
sure.
Martin mentioned these 11 to 15 companies who are building the digital thread. And I'll be interested to know that that's obviously a company that's doing, PLM. So what is it? How do these companies define it? And who owns it in those companies?
We are just finishing the survey. So we made a questionnaire. We sent it out to the company. We made, I think, 7 different factors or separators. Like Amazon. There are companies like Microsoft, NVIDIA with Fabric. There are small companies, SBA Vision. In Germany, we have a lot of companies. They define digital thread as a data set of connected semantic out of the legacy system. So typically, we made analysis. We talk about, I don't know whether it's the term configuration items. I always, when I made an analysis in a company, I select or I identify the so-called configuration items. In a high-tech company, mechatronic, interdisciplinary working, it's around about 300 configuration items spread along the product life cycle. It starts with requirements, with concept, with system architecture development, and goes to manufacturing planning, execution, logistic, service, and so on. That is the ISO norm 10007. So configuration items. Configuration items are all information spread along the product lifecycle, which are included in change management, release management, configuration management, and quality management, for example, impact analysis. And that is all our dream is the same. We built up a data model of these configuration items. I think 80% of the configuration items are very similar in different kinds of industries. 20% may be individual. And when we have this information connected, I think that it is a graph. I think we will all agree that it is a graph. You should realize it's based on a knowledge graph, on a graph database. And then it's very easy. We started with this. I think the level of development of all these companies is very the same. Right now, it's more or less, this is a pity for me, it's a warehouse. So they are able to get the data out of the legacy systems. They are able to show the data in a graph. They can build up a snapshot and they can feed, for example, an LLM model. But my dream is to use it for processes. That means I run a problem report, I run an engineering change request, all about the configuration items, the 300 configuration items. Then I find out the potential affected items. Then I use artificial intelligence, an agent, and I will find out from the potential affected items the real affected items. Then I put these affected items into the change request, and then I execute small ECOs and in change orders to the legacy system. That works perfect. Now the ECO will be executed on the legacy system level. Fine. And now the problem happens, what we can see all the companies are not able, when we changed on the legacy level, to synchronize back the digital thread. That is a problem right now. So right now, what I have seen right now, most of the systems working in the field of digital thread are able to build up a snapshot, a baseline, a passive warehouse. They are not able to synchronize the digital thread level with the legacy level. That is the problem right now. But the idea is still the same.
So Martin, you have just said exactly what I was talking about. Let me say something. And I'm sorry, shit, and I apologize for that. But in 1984, when we built PDM at Computer Vision, I led the team. It was based on an IBM CMS system using PL1. Transfer rates were 1 megabyte per minute. There was no TCP/IP, right? And it was integrating CAD to PDM. Technology has advanced, so it became PLM. And I think we as leaders, and I don't mean to say that I'm probably not a leader, but as a team, we're leaders. PLM really needs to raise up to the technology level that's now available. And Martin, you just talked about putting a layer on top of everything that's going on below and using that to manage all of the interactions between the silo systems and the need of the business, right? Which is exactly where I think technology has enabled us to begin to go. So I think we as leaders should begin to talk about PLM, raise it up, not from the IBM, VM, CMS, PL1, piece of crap, 1 megabyte per minute, no TCP/IP world. We're now in a world where you can have digital thread, you can have siloed systems that can begin to talk. As Oleg said, you can have agentic orbs floating around looking for things to do. Technology is there. We should be moving PLM to its rightful state. We should be heralding PLM to become something more than just engineering lifecycle management. We should talk about it as what it truly is and begin to promote that. And remember, if you're a leader, people follow because they don't know what else to do. And so what we should be talking about is, yes, you are here now, but where we need to go as an industry is to raise up above the siloed system, intimate all of this content and enable the business to get value from all the systems rather than each one fighting for budget for their own siloed system, for their own tasks. We should be talking about product lifecycle management versus engineering, ERP, blah, 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 right? As leaders, that's what I think we should be doing. So,
I think, Brian, there is a one interesting perspective. I just listening. You said, I think the fight of who is on top, it's permanent years after years. Like everyone wants to be on top. So like, let's create another layer, another layer, another layer. But in fact, we can just flip the story because of what I absolutely agree. It's about technology. It's about data technology. If you remember, you just said you develop systems with a different technology. SQL was invented as a technology to provide simple access to information. If you want to go, like it really was created because of that. It said now we don't have, like we have a standard now, all information will be available. And then we brought all other layers. We brought cloud, we brought social, we brought all these things. It's like we've been trying to say, we need to bring a technology that solves the problem. So here is an opportunity. What we have now can be a universal data hammer because everyone is speaking about data and language models. So just put it on the ground, say everything can be organized as a model. And Martin speaks about graphs, and I very much agree about this. But it's a new model. If this model can absorb the entire data sets, the problem will be solved. And then technologically solving the problem.
Patrick and Julianne, and then I have a question from the audience. So go ahead, Patrick, and then Julianne.
So based on what the dozen people on this call know about PLM, do we know enough to solve the 737 MAX problems? I mean, 2 of the planes crashed due to autonomy, which was not resilient to an emergent action. Sorry, two of the planes crashed due to autonomy. One of the planes had a door plug incident due to bad work instructions. Do we absolutely, I mean, we're talking about let's raise PLM to the level where it can solve business problems. Can we save the 737 MAX?
Absolutely. Yeah. If you put it in the
graph. Are you saying PLM is a system or a business process?
I'm saying PLM, a dozen people on this call who are experts in PLM, is that enough knowledge to save the 737 MAX?
Put the entire data set in the graph, you will solve the problem.
But let me point out one thing, Patrick, let me just put out one thing. The plug or bad instructions by the human or human failure, you can't solve human failure because that's at the moment. They're incapable, they didn't do the right thing, bam, right? But
so hang on a second on that one. So 15 years before the work instruction failure in Renton, my team installed a work instruction solution in North Charleston. So why, in that 15 years, if the technology is so hot, why couldn't it make it from the Atlantic to the Pacific in one company?
Because of people.
Well, that's because that company didn't have.
Does PLM matter, or should we be talking about organizational change?
Interesting.
It's both.
Yes.
You can't have PLM across organizational boundaries unless organizational boundaries begin to have layers, not layers, but plug holes that allow them to talk between each other.
So back to Oleg's comment, we're going to build software for each department. Aren't we just reinforcing the decomposition, the siloed approach? Aren't we just reinforcing the siloed approach by creating independent solutions?
No, put them on
No,
the same
independent
data
solutions
set.
exist. What we're talking about is intimating those siloed solutions so that it becomes in the business a holistic flow of content. It's the magical digital thread that aligns with the business model. You've got to be able to have organizational change or openness, just as you have siloed system intimation or openness. And through that, you get a solution called product lifecycle management, which includes the best of the best being available to all rather than to a select set.
Can I jump in? I want to let Julianne talk, and then I've got a question from the audience. Okay, Julianne.
Yeah, just a couple of things. I mean, I think Patrick, we've had conversations on our podcast about the product failures, and I think every manufacturer wants to prevent that. Nobody wants to have a big problem on their product. Or affect human lives at any level. But I think the issue is that a lot of manufacturers don't have all the capabilities they need to actually do this digital thread. So, we talk about if you get some PLM vendors, I'm just going to talk about systems, have some level of integration across the products, but most companies have a myriad of types of systems in there that aren't prepared for the full integration capability they need for digital threads. So I'm wondering, if we can think a little bit more about the AI, capability coming in, how will that help people build a digital thread? Do you guys think, I think I'd like to ask this group, do you think that the AI will help manufacturers build a digital thread? Because I think that there's some, agentic pieces that will help workflows and help bring workflows to life and, pass data around and, help people make better decisions. But when trying to build large language models and, trying to build all the data elements for a digital thread, does anyone see some overlap between, how AI can help support that and help these manufacturers take chunks of digital threads and start building those pieces out to actually get to a point where, it's not a multi-million-dollar project. It's actually something they can build out.
Based on the time constraint, Michael, and I know you've got a question, we could do the famous thumb up, thumb down indication here to answer Julia's question. To what extent, I'd say, like, if we think AI is going to enable the digital thread, then it's a thumbs up. If we think that AI's got no chance and we still won't do it, then it's thumb down.
No, Rob, that is wrong. I think this is wrong. That is the wrong direction. The digital thread enables AI, and not vice versa.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Yeah, I probably phrased that incorrectly.
At the end of the 90s, when we have had a big problem, we said, "Oh, great, internet is coming." I feel right now the same procedure. If we have a big problem, oh, nice, AI is coming, and we will solve it. AI will not save everything.
Oh, yeah.
You have to prepare.
Yeah, the thing about AI is really based on history.
It's the real basic idealization for the AI approach. I think this is the right direction. And I would like to say yes. Digital thread.
Yeah, I'm gonna put a thumbs.
Yes, I'd like you to put this.
Now, if you're talking about a real agentic studio that's managed and governed, then yes. If you're talking about a chatbot, then no.
Right.
Okay, let me take this in a different direction. Scott Byrne has a good question here. He said, generally speaking, do you feel organizations view PLM as a necessary evil for security and traceability of IP, or is it viewed as a plus technology enabler that drives efficiency across engineering and business? It seems kind of the heart of our discussion today, right? Is this something you got to do, or is it something that's like amazing and why aren't you doing it yet?
You got to do it.
And going back to a sim data poll that they have run year over year, it seems to be almost like half and half. And PLM was getting less popular for a little while, and suddenly it started getting a little bit more popular as people were starting to look at it as more of a collection of business systems rather than a singular business system. So I think that We are making some change, but we need to change the way that we talk, that PLM is not synonymous with a specific package.
Yeah, I'll throw another data point onto Christine's from Tech Clarity. One of the things, the answer is different people think about it differently. One of the things we did in our benchmarks is we saw the top performing companies that were getting more value out of their systems view it as a strategic system, and those that get less value out of it view it as a view it as a more tactical engineering system. So when you take that enterprise PLM approach and viewpoint on it, you're going to get more business value out of it. It just, I think we all know here, you extend the use of it into more processes, more people, more of the life cycle, you're going to get more value.
Great point.
So we haven't heard from Brion Carrolls too in a while. Brion Carrolls, do you want to jump in?
He left.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the conversation, right? And the one thing I'll say is, coming into this in the last 3 years, I've been heavy in manufacturing, right? And introducing the digital thread to people in manufacturing and why they need to look upstream is a conversation I have regularly, to find that business imperative, to have plant managers and directors, digital manufacturing directors look upstream has been a thorn in my side for a while. But I'll say that in the digital continuity, they call me a digital executive. And the one thing I find here that it just resonates with me is the people that I run into that are talking in the manner that we're talking in, driving business imperatives, organizational change management, right? Constructs that drive business continuity all the way through from ideation to on the shelf or on the street or whatever it is, are people with the pedigree of PLM. And it's weird that when I see people that I haven't seen from Dassault days, from Metaphase days, right? They're people that are PLM people, and they're sitting in manufacturing or they're sitting in another area, but they're the only ones that actually get it. And it's the whole thing that you guys are talking about. So I think whatever we've revealed on this call, that the leaders, my dad talked about it before, right? We are the people that are going to influence the impact of the future, introducing things like AI. We are the people that kind of have that passion in us. So I'm just glad to see the conversations being carried in that regard. So that's all.
Thank you, Brion.
Yeah.
Oleg, you had your hand up, and Brion, the father, had his hand up.
Yes, just a reflection on if you're building layers or we're using technology now. If AI is a data management technology, then it has an opportunity, because if you think about multiple systems, like the idea was we can put multiple systems in the one SQL database and then data magically is connected. Didn't happen. So then we said we put the system in the cloud and magically everything connected. It was even worse because the same disconnected systems came to the cloud. Now AI is taking us down. If you think on the foundation, if you think about universal way to create data model, if those models will interconnect without us being involved, because the language model has this ability, then we have an opportunity. We still will be with the different systems, but they will be reconnecting based on the technology. It's like, Martin, we had this conversation before. We can take two graphs, combine them together without thinking about table formats. This is the power of the graph. So if we can take two models coming from CRM and coming from ERP and coming from PLM, doesn't matter how we call it. And those are language models that will interconnect knowledge, like people interconnecting knowledge because of language, then we have a chance.
Yeah, I would agree.
Go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Michael.
No, just seems to me it's almost like the organizations, the corporate organizations have gone to these matricial formats where you've got horizontal and vertical reporting, but we haven't done that from a data point of view. We've done these vertical silos, and now we're talking about how do we connect the horizontal bit, right? We make our data and our applications catch up with the organizations that are actually using them, in a sense.
Yeah, so I would agree. I think the AI, to Oleg's point, could be very beneficial in converging content that has isolated use for functional capability for a given organization. If it can bring into this harmonious horizontal, as Michael said, layer, then that enables to Martin's point, overseeing, and Oleg, by the way, when I raise up my hands up, I'm not saying going up, I'm saying laying atop, right? Like an umbrella, right? Okay. If we can harmonize content without technology, and I think Christine you brought up, or Julian, you brought up cost to make it happen. If we can take AI and enable it to pull in data into a world where reporting, visibility, business, insights, then that would really smoke. I mean, that would be smoking, because each silo still has its own needs. CAD still has its own needs, right? MES still has its own needs. ERP and supply chain still have their own. What's that?
Supply chain.
Right. So each one has their own need, but if the data that they use can be harmonized into a model that is visible at the business level, then that's really product life cycle management, right? So we as leaders, we really have to raise our game. We can't keep talking siloed. We got to start talking harmony, right? And if we can do that, then people will begin to think that way as, well, that's the new normal. And if they begin to think that's the new normal, then they may begin to act as if it exists, act as if he had faith and faith will be given to you, right? Whatever the term might be. They may begin to say, it's natural that we should be able to do this. And by their thinking, the industry may evolve to where it becomes reality. So.
Brian, the son had raised his hand, I believe. Or
Nope.
that was from the previous time?
That was from earlier. It was probably like 7 topics ago.
Well, we're almost at the bell. I don't know, Rob, do you have another thumbs up one? Because I was thinking maybe, we started the call with, should we change the name of PLM? I have a feeling that if we did a vote on that, no, we don't change the name, we just do it better, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Everybody agrees.
Yeah, we do what it's supposed to be rather than what it has been. Again,
it could be that
PL1.
It could be that the vendors, the big three, have sort of dominated this discourse for so long, and then they've been, of course, acquiring until now their vision has become completely muddled. And maybe it's us as the leaders, we're supposed to bring that vision a bit more sharper.
Right.
And go ahead. Sorry.
I make the analogy that PLM is to product lifecycle management as IBM is to international business machines. It's where it got its start, where realistically, the definition of PLM is whatever the big 3 or 4 companies decide that they want to provide, regardless of whether or not it expands across the product lifecycle. And I'll add onto this from a technology standpoint. The PLM databases are object-oriented, and the downstream databases are transactional. So I don't know how you fit these other databases into a PLM database. I think it needs to be a managing product lifecycle strategy. But I don't think you can. I think the PLM technology is about as far as it's ever going to get. If we want to manage product lifecycles, we need to figure out how to integrate the different databases with each other to create a digital thread.
Exactly.
Say it again, Pat. PLM is dead.
Yeah. So
long live PLM.
Yeah.
No.
Look across the ad model.
That had the line of all lines. It was PLM is dead. Long live the thread.
Yeah, PLM is dead. Long live the thread. Right. Yep.
Okay.
That gives you PLM. Right. Long live the thread that gives you PLM. What'd you say? PLM is dead. Long live the thread gives you PLM.
Yeah.
Well, I started with PLM is to product lifecycle management, what IBM is to international business machines. It's an acronym that no longer means what it meant when it started.
Right. Well,
looks like Martin might have a closer.
Martin, you're on mute, by the way.
Yeah,
Martin, you're on mute.
Yeah.
One comment. One is, even now we have problems. I think when you think about a graph who is willing to connect all the data, we are doing concrete projects. It's very easy to combine a PLM solution, a PDM system with ERP, because when we agree that the numbering system is the same, we can connect the graph from ERP with the graph from PLM. When we have requirements management and have nothing, for example, JAMA, Teamcenter, and SAP, and we have no bridge between requirements, we have no designed a bridge on the legacy system between JAMA and PLM, then there's a disconnection, then the graphs are not coming together. So we have to solve technical problems. But
Yes.
we have to start pragmatically. My feeling is when we combine the existing PLM, I call them PDM system with ERP, we will solve 70 to 80% of the problems. My customers have the main problem to connect an PLM change management process with the ERP that is based on fax, on phone call, on email, and whatever. And they failed and failed and failed because they are not able to connect all the affected items. I think we should be pragmatic. On the other side, we talked about silos. I think we are technical guys. It is normally stupid. We should not believe with the technical solutions that we can get rid of silos. So we have, that's education. We are educated in silos. We are working in silos. We try to solve silos with technology. That is human behavior. And we have to combine all our good ideas with some acceptance management, with training, with interdisciplinary thinking and systems thinking and all this stuff. So I think it's a much more point of room for discussion we have to start.
Thank you, Martin. This has been fantastic. Did you guys have a good time? That was a lot of fun, right?
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely.
There's a bit of echo on here. I feel like we should do it again because I don't think there was enough time. I don't think everybody got to say everything they wanted to say.
And we do it live, Michael, next time, right?
Yeah. But this is awesome. I really appreciate everybody taking their time to share their thoughts and everything. Let's definitely do it again. And I apologize. I didn't make it very structured because I thought it would be more interesting to just let the discussion go and see where it went. And I think we came up with it came out to an interesting place. It's going to launch even more conversations going forward. So once again, all my friends, thank you so much. Great to see you guys all once again here on the podcast. Let's do this again soon. And to the audience, jump on. There's a bunch of comments. By the way, everybody that's here, you're going to see there's a ton of comments, at least 15, 20 on the post. So go ahead and answer those and check them out. I'll try to answer as much as I can. And let's just keep the dialogue going and try to do this again. And I just proud to have all you guys as friends and have these kind of really fascinating conversations. So thank you.
Yes, been very good.
Thanks.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Stop.